As an Apple fan for nearly 20 years now, it's pretty inevitable that I come across things on the internet that are just going to drive me crazy. Sometimes I want to reach through my monitor and just... No, but seriously, violence aside, it is kind of funny how we get so attached to these brands as if they are our friends or something like that. I mean, yeah, I love Apple, but if I disappear tomorrow, would Apple really care? Probably not. And if you disappear tomorrow as an Android user, would Google take notice of your disappearance? Hate to tell you, but no. They will go on about their day, selling products and making money, because at the end of the day, they're a business. They're here to make decisions, to make them money. But for whatever reason, we as the consumers choose to defend these brands, these companies, and just sometimes take things personally and personally attack others in the process. And honestly, you shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't. However, like I said, I am an Apple fan for nearly 20 years now, and it's just inevitable that I come across comments and thoughts and theories these days on the internet that just drive me crazy. So I figured for today's video, and who knows, this could turn into a regular series if you guys enjoy it, I'm going to talk about 5 things that annoy me as an Apple fan. Some things for Apple, some things against Apple, and some things for the Apple community, and some things against the Android community. This video is just to have fun, so hopefully you get involved in the comments, and I can already tell this is going to just go perfectly, right? Yeah, cool. Alright, let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is, it drives me crazy as an Apple fan when people say Steve Jobs wouldn't have done this, or he would have done things differently. With all due respect, we should not reflect on what the dead should have done, or could have done, or will be doing in current day, because, again, with all due respect, they're dead. We, as Apple fans and Android fans, or whoever you are, we cannot speak for the dead. It's incredibly disrespectful, and honestly, it's kind of stupid, especially when I see comments like, oh, Apple would have done this differently if Steve Jobs was still alive. How do we know that? Guys, I'm pretty sure 99.99% of people watching this video right now, myself included, have never ever met Steve Jobs on a personal level. And no, I don't mean seeing him in New York City like I did. Yes, I was lucky enough to actually see him in New York City and kind of meet him. But I never had a conversation with him. I don't know anything personal about him besides the things I've read on the internet. So I'm just going to say this. It's incredibly unfair to say what Steve Jobs would have done. Guys, let's not forget, Apple continues to kick ass. They are doing extremely well under the power of Tim Cook. And not only Tim Cook, but everyone else at Apple. I mean, this is a team effort. However, with that said, guys, I have to back up a little bit here. With all due respect to Steve Jobs, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful manner, Steve Jobs wasn't perfect either. Let's not forget the iPod Hi-Fi. Guys, I will never forget watching that keynote, because it's kind of recalled as like one of these smaller keynotes in Apple history, because it was a small room. It was just intended for the press, you know? It wasn't intended as a big event for the world to like glue their eyes to and just hang on every word that comes out of Jobs' mouth. This is more of an intimate event. And I'll never forget when Steve Jobs in this case, when Jobs announced the iPod Hi-Fi, and he quite literally said, not word for word, but he said something like this: yeah, I'm going to be leaving my home theater equipment outside and replacing it with the iPod Hi-Fi. Well, fast forward just a year or two later, and the iPod Hi-Fi was just killed off. And ironically, I have one to my right here, because I love that product. Do I ever use it? Of course not. It's just unrealistic, but I'm an Apple collector in some regard, so I enjoy having a like new condition iPod Hi-Fi on my shelf to my right. But that's just my point, guys. The iPod Hi-Fi was released when Jobs was alive. So what if a similar product like that was released in today's world? Wouldn't people immediately say, oh, this would have never happened if Steve Jobs was still alive? Yes, it would have. It certainly would have. I'm sorry, he was not perfect. He was an amazing visionary. He was incredible. He knew what we wanted before we knew we wanted it. That's a fact. But he wasn't perfect. So let's just stop. Please, let's just stop saying Steve Jobs would have done this, or he wouldn't have done this. It's not fair. It's just not fair, because none of us know. And honestly, you just kind of sound stupid saying it. And speaking of stupid, let's move on to number 2. I hate when people say this. Apple has lost its innovation. No, they have not. Now, do they release a new product every year that's going to change the world? Of course not, but that's the whole point of innovation. If everything was innovative, then there wouldn't be a need for innovation. Innovation is a very, very bold and strong word. And honestly, innovation should only happen maybe every 5 to 10 years. And by that, I mean something big, something huge, like the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad, and certainly the Apple Vision Pro. And that's a lot coming from me. I'm not personally a big believer in the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah, I'll be trying it out someday, but I just can't justify spending, what is it, $3,500 on a headset that I know is just going to sit on my desk right next to my Meta Quest 2 that I haven't touched in 2 months. It is what it is. But hey, the Apple Vision Pro, despite my not liking it all that much as of right now, I'm not gonna lie, it's extremely innovative. It is way, way ahead of the game in regards to VR and AR, and I truly do think Apple has something magical on their hands, or on their head in this case. But yeah, again, it's not for me, but I certainly do think it's an example of the innovation that has not died from Apple. And guys, let's not forget, MacBooks continue to dominate. The iPhone continues to dominate. The iPad, realistically speaking, is really the only tablet worth using today. Android fanboys, prove me wrong. So yes, innovation is not something that's going to happen every single time, but just because it's not happening this year or next year or the following year doesn't mean Apple has lost its innovation. It's an incredibly special and unique and strong word, meaning it's only going to happen every now and then, not every year. So relax, enjoy your amazing tech. Number 3, and this one's going to be interesting, and I'm not making this video to piss anyone off, but this one still baffles my mind. All right, here we go. I just spilled my water. Android users, for whatever reason, get incredibly weird every time there's an iPhone event. Yo, Android users, I'm talking to you. The iPhone events? Last time I've checked, Android is never mentioned in these Apple events. But for some reason, you just feel the need to climb out from that hole in your mom's basement and say, oh, Android did this. Android does this better. And we don't care. Look, Android is a great platform. I respect everything it has done for what it is. Now, Android is not for me. It's way, way too not Apple. That's the best way to put it. And yes, I've owned quite a few Android phones. I've reviewed quite a few Android phones on this channel. Yeah, it's great for those who want it, but it's way, way too fragmented for me to actually take Android seriously. I am an iPhone user, and I will never ever switch from iPhone unless Apple does something incredibly stupid, but I just don't see that happening because Apple is incredibly smart with the iPhone platform. Anyway, backing up a bit, I am by no means hating on Android, but why do you Android users always feel the need to express your opinions on iPhone related videos? And it goes both ways. Guys, I realize iPhone users aren't perfect, but I don't go to Android videos on YouTube and say, oh, iPhone does this better or Android sucks. It's like, it's just so weird to me. For example, the other night I came across a YouTube short. I was just watching YouTube in bed, and it was about some kind of Samsung Galaxy phone or whatever it was. It was an Android phone. It looked nice. The design was beautiful. But after watching it, I went to my YouTube history, my viewing history, my watch history on my iPhone, because I just had a feeling like I had to look at the comments on an Android video to see if they were talking about iPhone. And what do you know? In like the top 3 comments, people were dissing the iPhone, but the iPhone was never even mentioned in that Android video. It's like this video is just about Android, but people still feel the need to mention the iPhone. Like, nobody's talking about you. It's like hosting a party that you're not invited to, but you still show up anyway, and everyone's just looking at you like, who the hell is this guy? We're not even talking about you. Why are you here? So guys, please answer me that question. Why do Android users feel the need to always speak up when it comes to iPhone events? Android does things just fine and iPhone does things just fine. And by iPhone, I mean iOS. It's just something I will never understand. And this even goes back to the days of Mac versus PC. Remember that? Man. Same exact idea. People have these weird, personal, intimate relationships with these brands that don't really care about you all that much at the end of the day. Again, if you died tomorrow, they wouldn't know. I guarantee you. I'm sorry. I mean, unless you work at Apple or work at Google, you're nobody but a figure of a certain amount each year. You know, like $1,200 on an iPhone or $1,600 on a Samsung Galaxy or whatever. Moving on to point number 4, and this one is actually against Apple. Say it's proof. I'm not a completely blind Apple fanboy. I will diss them when the time is right. Apple, in my opinion, needs to give their users the freedom of changing the default notification sound. And this is actually really good timing because iOS 17 finally gave us a new sound for the first time in what, like since 2007? It might be that long. I'm not sure now. In my opinion, the new default sound could be a little better, a little louder, but it's not a big deal because I'm actually getting into the habit again of wearing my Apple Watch every day. So it doesn't really affect me all that much. But that's just my point. If you don't like the default notification sound, you're out of luck because Apple literally will not let you change that sound. Which is funny because they let you change the text sound, the mail sound, your alarm sound. You can change every sound on your iPhone except for the default notification sound. And the same thing goes for the Apple Watch. When it comes to text on your Apple Watch, that ding, yeah, it's okay, but it would be really nice to actually choose a different sound effect for text alerts, maybe per person, per a group chat, or maybe I just prefer a fart sound to come from my Apple Watch every time I get a text. That's my point though. Apple does not give us users the choice to choose a default notification sound. And I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't know if it has to do with consistency with their brand, but please, Apple, give us that freedom. Give us the choice. And moving on to the 5th point, and this is another one that's against Apple. I am so tired of predicting next year's product features based on this year's product features. How many times have we gotten features on the Pro lineup of the iPhone, but for the regular lineup of the iPhone, it's not going to get those Pro features, which yeah, makes sense, but the following year, the non-Pro models get the Pro features, minus ProMotion and all that stuff. And guys, this exactly happened this year, and I knew this was going to happen. I think anybody with half a working brain knew this was going to happen. iPhone 15 this year got Dynamic Island, but only the iPhone 14 Pro had that last year. And guys, honestly, I think that's annoying. Now, I get it. That's typical business practice. That's how Apple makes their money. That's how Apple keeps things interesting. I'm not blaming them for it. I'm just saying I, as the user, find it annoying. And especially when it comes to the iPad. I'm not using an iPad right now, but how many times has the iPhone received features first? And then we literally have to wait a full year for the iPad to get those same exact features. Guys, it happened again this year. With the new iPad OS, we finally got lock screen customization, including lock screen widgets. But what did we get last year? You guessed it, lock screen customization and lock screen widgets on the iPhone. I hate the fact that we have to wait a full year just for the iPad to get the iPhone treatment. It's not fair to the people who use iPads every single day as their daily computer. And yeah, you can call it a computer because the word computer is completely relative to what you do with that device. Anyway, again, I get why Apple does what they do. It keeps things interesting. But I just kind of wish they would do things a little faster, maybe like a 6-month cycle with these iOS and iPadOS updates. That'd actually be really cool. If like the iPhone got something first, sure, that's great. But give it to the iPad 6 months later. Why not? Keep it interesting throughout the year. But I get it. I get it. Anyway, guys, those are 5 things that annoy me as an Apple fan. I think this is actually a very fair video. I mean, I'm looking at things from both perspectives. I'm pro Apple. I'm not exactly pro Android or Google or whatever. I mean, yeah, I love Google. I love YouTube. I love everything that brand has done for me. But me personally, I'm just not a big Android guy. But at the same time, I'm not going to hate on Android. But if I had to pick one favorite point that really resonated with me today, It's the third one where I said Android users get weird every time there's an iPhone event. Again, it's like they're showing up to a party that they were never invited to in the first place. And I don't understand that mindset. I never, ever go on Android related videos and talk about the iPhone. It's just weird to me. So please answer me. Why do people do that? I'm not hating, I'm just legitimately curious. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, please let me know. I mean, I just want to sit down with you and talk about things I'm passionate about, because clearly I'm passionate. I love Apple as a brand. Yes, I realize if I died tomorrow, they just wouldn't give a shit. Hey, it's the truth. And I accept that truth, but I still love Apple as a brand. I love everything they represent. And I love their products. Their products are just so clean and consistent. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having a great day. Thank you for your continued support or below, and I'll talk to you soon.